Welcome to the Trellix Spotlight series. My name is Nick, and I will be your host. Today's session will focus on Endpoint Detection and Response, or EDR API. This webinar will be recorded. If you prefer not to participate in the recorded session, please feel free to disconnect at this time. A link to today's recorded presentation will be emailed to all registered attendees. This webinar is a brief overview covering common use cases and scenarios regarding this topic. It is not intended to be all-encompassing. If assistance is needed, please contact Trellix Technical Support. If you need any assistance configuring or using the Endpoint Detection and Response API for your uses, please contact our professional services team for assistance. If you have questions during the webinar, please type them in the Q&A window. This webinar may run longer or shorter based on your participation, and we recommend asking as many questions as you can to make the most of this series. If the Q&A window is not displayed, click the tab at the bottom of your session window and click on the Q&A icon. We will answer the questions during the final section of this webinar. If you experience any audio issues during the webcast, please drop and attempt to reconnect. Our speaker today is Benjamin Marandel. Ben is one of Trellix's passionate engineers in cybersecurity. He is a solutions architect for EMEA and was previously endpoint solution specialist for South Europe. He specialized in building enterprise architecture designs to help enterprises fighting new cyber threats with tools such as EPP, EDR and XDR, threat intel, automation, and generative AI. With that passion and over 20 years of experience, Ben is a certified information system security professional and a certified cloud security professional. Prior to Trellix, Ben worked as a network and endpoint security specialist for other security vendors. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben.
Thanks a lot for your introduction, Nick. Just enough pressure on me for this webinar. Okay, so let's start with the first topic, the Trellix API Gateway. If you want to try or understand the full list of API we have, there is one and only one portal where you can go, is the Trellix Developer Portal. So here I'm sharing the URL for you. I also included QR code if you want to rapidly go on this URL. So the best experience you could have on this website is to first log in on the website. For this, you may use the any user you have to log into the X console. Okay, so once you are logged in, you will continue with your profile. So, and this is the best way to use the website. You will have access to the documentation of the API, and you will be able to generate your credential access. And this is what I'm going to explain to you. Before that, I want also to share two main resources. So if your plan is to develop a Python script to use our API on the EDR side, we already have put in place on the GitHub a list of script for many use cases. So I strongly recommend to you to have a look on those script to avoid reinventing the wheel. Okay, first of all. The second part is a Postman resource where I've put the time to enter any API we have, validate the API, and most of the time go through an example. So I've put enough parameter or body data to make my query successful and to be able to give it a try. Okay, most of the query must be run from the top to the bottom. There is a kind of scenario or a kind of logic behind the execution of the queries. I'm using variables to save information for the next query. So you can review all of this playbook and reuse it as you want for your own purpose. It's fully available for you. Okay. Once again, 2 QR code to get access to this quickly. So now let's have a first deep dive inside the API. So the first section is about the authentication. Before you can use an API, you have to get a token, okay? And this token is based on an authentication from your client ID and client secret associated with your API key, okay? So let's now review how you can get a credential access. How you can get your credentials. So the first time you are reviewing the developer portal, you can go to the self-service. Again, remember this website is based on your authentication, so you are already authenticated as a user of the Trellix X console. So once you start browsing this website, it's based on your profile. You go to the self-service and you click on API Access Management. From here, you will be able to decide which type and with which right, or let's say method, you want to use the API. Let's say you want to create a user used by an application. So in that case, what I would recommend to you is to create a new user on your tenant, and it would be a user dedicated for this application, a kind of application account, okay? So you can set a very long and random password because the idea is not to log into the console with this user, but more use the API with this user. The API will be related to the user rights inside the platform. So if you can't see any data with a specific user account, the API will not be able to do it also. Okay, very, very easy. So, but if you are the admin and you want to share the credential to a developer team, maybe you don't want this team to be able to delete something. So here I'm showing an example for the EDR remediation team, API access. I want to let the team to be able to post a new remediation, patch an existing one, get any content available, but I don't want this team to be able to delete anything. Okay, maybe it's my use case, maybe it's the way I'm thinking about this application to be used. So why not? Okay, and you go through every EDR API you want to use like this, and you submit your request. Once you've done this, our engineers are going to review your request and grant the level of access you just requested based on the scope. Okay. Once you get your credential approved, you will get this screen, and now you are ready to continue. And below that screen, you will be able to click on generate, and you will get a client ID and a client secret. This is the both information you will need now to get the token based on the EAM URL. Okay, so you have to go through a first, let's say, connection to the API to get a token. This is the ID. And once you have a token, you will reuse this token for any other following API call. The token has an experiency. It's quite enough for most of the scripting you would like to do, but in case of, you should take care of the experiency and work with it. If it expires, you have to go again and request a new token. That's the idea. Again, if you go through the Postman, I've already built the logic of it, so you can use any API, and if the token has expired, the Postman interface will go through the prerequisite and regenerate a new token for you. So you don't have to think about the token. You can consume the API directly. You can spy the script I'm using. It's a Java-based script. If you want to reuse it, feel free to reuse it. There is no secret inside. You can reuse it as you want. But there is another way to go through your tenant and get a credential. So we've tried to make it easier for everyone. So once you log in again on the portal, you will have access to this page. So before you decide to go to the APO or the EDR tile, you can go on client credential from the user menu. And if you don't know how to get on this page, I'm giving you the URL once again with a QR code for easy access. But it's very easy. Once you log in, normally you fall on this page, and you can click on the menu and select client credential. On client credential, you will be able to create your own client ID and define the scope, save it, and boom, you're done. Don't try to go with the information on this page. Here, I'm not sharing the API key we requested for any API call. So on top, if you do it on your side, and if you have your API license on top with the EIM URL here to use with this client ID and client secret, you will get your API key here below to use in conjunction with your client ID and client secret. Okay, so once you have all this information, you can use it. But take care. This second method is using a different EIM URL. We are sharing the URL here. So most of the time, I have some user coming back to me and say, "Hey, I'm trying to get my token and I'm failing the authentication." Most of the time, it's because you are not using the good UEIM URL for this request. Okay, so 2 ways to get a credential, 2 ways to do your request and get a token. So now let's move to the next topic, the full list of API. Okay, let's take more time to review the APIs because this is the main topic of this webinar. So we divided the API in 5 categories, let's say. It's something we can discuss a lot, but you will see sometimes the category can cover multiple use cases, but let's go through it. So the first one is the investigation. So through Trellix EDR, you can create an investigation and ask for guided AI investigation to take in place and guide you through your forensic. Okay, so we are going to execute a series of questions to find and identify what are the key artifacts to learn and to know about the current threat. So very interesting. That's something you can request by API. So why not? The second one is the searches. There is multiple ways to go through the your Trellix EDR tenant to run any search. At least you have the historical search, so you can search on data we already have in our backend in the cloud. So you can browse through this data and request what we already know about anything. Okay. The other way is to run a real-time search. So this time you are searching something directly on the endpoint within the live data. Okay, so it's a real-time query sent to any connected endpoint. Any endpoint will execute the search and you get the result back if any endpoint have something to say. Okay. The third one is the threat. Of course, EDR is here to detect a threat, so we will have plenty of API to get the thread, go to the details, and etc. The remediation is a very strong one because we want to take action based on what we collected. So again, many use cases, different situation within the console. Sometimes you can take a remediation for a large scope of endpoint. Sometimes you want to zoom in on a specific endpoint. So multiple ways to run a remediation. We will see also how to define exclusions. This is in this category. The last one is the activity feed. This is something we have recently made a strong evolution. The idea is to subscribe to a webhook, and now Trellix EDR is going to push the information to your platform, so you receive a notification about a new threat created, or let's say available, and now you can go back to the Trellix EDR tenant with the API and ask for more details. But you get the idea. The idea is to receive as a push event more information. I definitely don't have enough time during this webinar to cover any topic. So let's keep this one for the next one. Maybe we will do a more advanced webinar on this EDR topic. Why not? Let us know. That's definitely a feedback we want to collect. So if you want an advanced version of this webinar, please go back to us. But now let's move on and see what we already have to cover. So first, EDR API category, the investigation category. So for the investigation, multiple API, the first one is the investigation as alone. So this is the way to review your investigation. So let's move to my current EDR console. I have exactly, I went to the investigation from the menu here, going to investigation, and this is my current screen. So if I want to collect this information through the API, this is how I can do. So again, from the Postman, I can run the first query, and it's about EDR v2 investigation. Okay, so very easy. Once again, the Postman I created, it's managing the token for me, so the token is generated, and the API query is executed. I'm not going to say this for every API call, so I'm going to explain it to you right now, and it would be the same for every time you want to get an API. Okay, so when you do a get, what you need to specify as a parameter is the page offset and the page limit. Okay, very important. So basically, how does it work? You do a request, okay, and this request is to generate a book. Okay, in this book, I'm going to organize the data you are requesting. Maybe it's a small book, maybe it's a very huge book. So you have to specify to me how many lines, how many rows you want per page, and I will generate enough page to cover your request. That's the idea, okay? So let's say you want 20 rows per page. This is basically how you define your query, okay? So if I try to visualize here, I have only one row, so one page is enough to display these rows. We will see that we will have much more pages depending on the case we have to cover, but this one is an easy one, so let's start easily and we will progress along the webinar. Okay, so what next? Next, we want to zoom in. Why? Because we need to move on. So we need to enter in the investigation. So first of all, let's get more details, or let's get the exact level of details. Okay, so all this information one by one for this very specific investigation. So here again, I'm going to just do a get and passing the investigation ID as a parameter. Here, to simplify the use case, I'm using the first ID returned by the first query and etc. You get the ID. Again, I'm going to do approximately the same behavior for the rest of the API. Okay. Again, I can visualize what I get. Easy, the details of the investigation. Okay, why not? Now I want to zoom in. I want to click inside the investigation and get more data. What is very interesting with the guided investigation, it's how it works. Basically, we review with all the artifacts. We ask it more questions to understand more data. Okay, so you start with an easy first question. What was the uncommon processes running at the time of the event? And based on this list, you get 4 more questions. What was the reputation of every uncommon processes? Is there any communication going outside for every uncommon processes, and etc. etc. So you get the idea. Every time you have a question, you get more answers. For every answers you have to run again more question, and based on the answer, you will have to go deeper and deeper. So at the end, the investigation goes through a large number of artifacts, and he found a key number of them. So you can review that list in a table view, and you have access to 123 artifacts here for this investigation. Okay, so the way you can collect this is to request the evidence by sending the queries. So I forgot to show you the slide, but you have the ID. So we are using the EDR v2 investigation ID evidence, and with the evidence we will have a full list of evidence. The file, the services, the processes, everything we found relevant to the threat has been collected and accessible through this API call. So if I finish on this, yeah, you get the ID, the artifact is collected with the evidence. Okay. So very simple beginning. Let's say all the query here were a get query, so nothing complex. I think it's good enough for the start of this webinar. Now let's move on the next one. EDR searches. There is multiple way to search, and now we have to go on the different kind of API call. Okay, so the first one is for the real-time search. So I'm very interested by running a real-time search from a script, because I don't want to use the console every time I want to search for something on any endpoint. So now I want a quick way to run a full real-time search. So for this one, you will have to post your request. And every time you post a request, it means you have to complement your request with a body data. Okay, so let's see how it represents. So again, we want to do a real-time search here. Real-time search is very useful. I have a saved one here. I can search for processes. Why not? So while this request is running, let me show you how we are going to do it. So on the real-time search, here I can search for host name. Okay, so what are the host name and the files? And with the file, I would like the name, the full name, and I'm searching for any file who contain in the path notepad.exe. So I'm not looking for the processes, but this time I'm looking for the files who contain the name of notepad. Okay, and to express this query, I'm not going to pass any argument like we made we did by the past. Okay, here we are going to post a body data. Okay, so I have to define my body and define my query here. So I think again it stay easy because for the moment I just have to replace the query here by the content you want. And I'm using the same exact syntax that I'm using in the prompt of the console. So it's very easy. So here my query run and I have only one client on top of 3 where Notepad is running. Okay, good to know. But what about the files? How many files we have that is using the name of notepad.exe? Okay, so let's send the query. So when you send the query, you get an ID. And once you have this ID, now you need to know what is the status of your job. So you create a job and now your job is running and my job is in progress. Okay, so I illustrate this like this. When you click search, you see this frame here, searching. So it means you created a search job and this job is underway. Okay, we are taking care of your job and we are executing the job. We send through the DXL protocol in real time to every endpoint over the internet. We send the query, any endpoint is executing the query. If they have something to say, they are going to reply back. And once this job is finished, I will be able to request for the result of the job. Okay, so go back to my query. If I send it again, this query is still running, I get in progress. And if you want, you have to wait until it finishes. If you try to collect the result before, we manage the situation gently. So here I'm finished. But if it's not the case, the answer will say, hey, your search is not finished yet. Okay, so you have to manage first, does the queue is finished, and etc. Once your job is finished, you can go to the result and send your query to get the result. So here I can review the result with you. We have a total resource account of 50. So because we are just viewing 20 rows per page, I have only 20 files name per page. So here my query is only showing me the first 20 rows. Okay, very simple. So there is a tons of Notepad apparently because Windows is keeping every version of it every time an update is applied maybe. Or I have a 32-byte version of Notepad, a 64 bytes version of Notepad apparently, and so on. Okay, and at the end, I have now an idea of how to pass my next query to get the next 20 rows. Okay, so now I can explain you deeper how it works. So here I'm reading the first page of the book. Okay, if I want the second page is starting at the rows 20. Okay, so this time I will do the same query with the offset 20. This is how it's defined here. If you want to read the next page, look, the offset equals 20 and with stay the same limit. I want 20 rows per page. Okay, if I go to the end, so the last page of the book is at the offset 40, again for the same limit with 20 rows per page. So I have approximately 3 pages. That's all. It's a book of 3 pages. Easy, but sometimes it needs some clarification. Okay, so now you know how to collect the data, and because we have 50 will be displayed on 3 pages. And the last page will contain only 10 rows. I'm sure you get the idea now, but it's once it's explained from every people, it will be trivial. Okay. Next one. The next one is the historical search. So here, same idea, you will have to post a body data. Okay, so let's review it. The historical search is based on your query. You can ask any query you want based on the device name, for example, and do your query. Here, I can't remember exactly what I'm doing, but let's review it. Okay, I'm doing the following search. I want to query for any device except a device with a name test. Okay, why not? If you do this, because of the nature of the solution, we have a tons of events, tons of telemetry inside the cloud coming through all your endpoint, okay? And if you want to get something relevant, I strongly recommend you to specify a time frame, okay? And this is what you are doing here, actually. So you define your query and you define the time frame. The time frame can be very specific. It can be a custom time frame, so you select a date and a from and a to, and you apply and you get your time frame. This is exactly what we are doing here. We specify the end and the beginning. So and you can see the format here to use. It's the standard time. Okay, there's the Unix time, and what I call the standard time, it's something readable. Okay, the Unix time, it's something you can read. You need to convert. The Unix time is the number of seconds. Okay, so again, if you run this, you will post a job, and this job is going to be run or executed. You can search for it. Again, you don't get a result if it's already done. So let's move on to the historical search. And this time I will have 50 rows per page. Okay, so I've run a query where I ask basically, give me any telemetry you have for any endpoint except the test endpoint. Okay, usually no one is running a system called test. And so I want any telemetry from 1 or 2 days. I can't remember exactly, maybe 4 days. But by doing this, I'm going to have tons of telemetry. Okay, I have login, logout, process created, file created. I have, so it's if you want to understand what is it, it's you can filter by activity. Okay, so you have here process created. The next one, let me review. It's file modified. Okay. What is the next one? The next one is file modified again. File modified. Okay, tons of file modified. Process created. User logout. Okay, so now you get the idea. Okay, so I have again a long list of events. I didn't try to visualize because it will depend on the activity type. If you want to review only process, it's something you can do. You can filter your query by the process. You can search for a specific process name. That's something doable. And again, at the end of my query, I will have a good understanding of what is the next page. So the next page is at the offset 50. Easy one, because this is the first page. So the second page is at the offset 50. And the last page, as you can see, look, it's 4,950. That's the offset. So this one is a huge book with lots of pages with 50 rows per page. So a tons of information to review, as you may expect. Okay, so that's for the historical searches. If I go to the, here you get the idea, you request the result. If I go now with the thread, and I need to move on a little bit. So for the thread, again, you can get the thread, number of thread you have, then you will have to zoom in on a specific thread ID. And for this thread ID, you will be able to get and knows how many hosts you have. Okay, so let's go to my monitoring view, and why it's loading, let's do it by API. We are here to move on through API, so let's do it quickly. So first of all, how many threads we have? Here we have 2 threads. I need to maybe filter more. Okay, so in the past I got 2 threads. Okay, excellent. Let's take the first one and zoom in more. Okay, so now I'm zooming on the first thread. Okay, this is the name of the thread. Excellent. Let's get how many endpoint has been affected by this thread. Only 1. Okay, that's the information I have. Only 1 endpoint affected by this thread. Okay, now you want to review the detection. That's the next one. If I go back to my slide, the detection here are here. And here I have a very good example actually, because some event occurs and then more event occurs. Okay, so this is something who can happen. Okay, we start monitoring the activity and maybe it was too low. Okay, not enough to generate or get your attention to this. And then suddenly we get more information. Now we are more convinced about the how much this information is relevant enough for you. Okay, so that's why you get to event like this. Or maybe the attack is executed again and again because the endpoint has rebooted and maybe it's still infected. Okay, so you can get every detection based on the event. To do this, you are going to call for the detection. And you will see we get exactly what the interface is showing to you. So we have 2 detections here. For this detection, we have all the behaviors observed, all the MITRE techniques, and etc. Okay. And for this detection, we can also collect the alerts. Okay. So there is an easy way to do it. It's to filter again by period. Okay. You can search for a specific thread and get the from and the to be more to get specific about the period. Could be few seconds, could be 1 minute, and the idea is to ask for the alerts on this specific time zone. You will be able also to filter by severity. You can sort by detection date. This is something I strongly recommend to you to get more readable information. And if you want, this is here where you can also move to the alerting view. Okay, you can go to the alerting view from the console, and this is how you can do it from the API. Again, if you do a query directly on alerts, you will get tons of information, so I strongly recommend you to filter the call. Okay, let's move on the remediation side. On the remediation side, it's based on the interface. Okay, it's we have multiple ways to remediate. The first way to remediate is on the thread globally. Okay, most of the time you may want to create an investigation, or maybe it's simply dismissed because you review it and you manage the situation. It's done. You kill the process. You remove the file. Maybe you restore the endpoint. I don't know, but the action is taken. Maybe it was a false. Okay, and now you want to dismiss the event. So this is how you can do it. You have to post the action dismiss. So I can quickly show you how it will be how the structure is defined. So if you want to, again, it will be the body. and here you pass the global threat remediation, global threat here, and you pass the threat ID, and the action is dismiss the threat. Okay, easy one, but this is the way it works, okay? And you can do it for any action. Same for the local client here under the thread. You can stop process or stop and remove. In that case, we try to kill that process and remove the process. Basically, this is what we are going to do here. So again, you do a post with a body. Here you will do a post also for the remediation search, and from the investigation, you can also take an action on the endpoint. You can, for example, quarantine the endpoint, and again, the action will be defined in the body. Okay. Part of the remediation, there are the exclusions, and that's something I want to showcase here. The exclusions are very important because it's also part of your result of the investigation. Maybe you found a use case where this alert should not be generated once again, and you don't want to restart an investigation and review all the following thread because you know this thread is going to happen again, and you have to exclude it. Okay, so to define an exclusion, first you can review, do you have some exclusion defined? Okay, so let's do this. Let's see, do we have some exclusion? So the exclusion are within the configuration. So I need to be able to review the configuration and goes to my exclusions. Here I have no one. So let's start and create an exclusion. So to do exactly what the console is doing, let's do a get exclusions. Okay. And review. Okay. We have 0 exclusion. Okay. That's true. I mean, the console is showing us we don't have an exclusion. So we want to define we want to create our first exclusion, and because we review the data from our script, we don't want to open the console just to define the exclusion. So let's do the same. Let's use the API and post a body data structure to define the exclusion. To do it, what I've done, I can give you the trick. If you don't know how it works, the trick is go it through the interface. Do it first once by using the web interface manually, save it, and then collect the information. So do a get exclusion, and you will get a body result. And from this body result, you can learn what is the current structure you have to post as a body. For me, that's the easiest way to do it. If you want also, you can review the documentation, and that's also a good way to start. If you want to learn more, use my tips and my method, let's say. So here I want to define an exclusion with all the capabilities because I want to show you all the capabilities. So you can define a hash, you can define a file path or a specific command line, and you can use both of them, okay, and all of them, okay. So let's send this directly to my tenant. It's completed, okay, perfect. So now if I refresh my page, yeah, I got it. I got one. Again, if I get my exclusion again, I will retrieve the information for sure from the API. No pre-visualization, but yeah, this is my exclusion defined. Okay, I can zoom in a little bit more, but I don't have too much detail. Yeah, I got the exclusion. Okay, now I can modify the content, and this is something new. Until now, we've been able to see the get, the post. That's easy to understand. But now I want to update my current exclusion. So I did a mistake. It was not this name of the process. I want to specify the new name of the process. This is very easy. In that case, we will get the current exclusion, review the content, and post the new structure with the change. So here I want to move to demo.exe as my new exclusion, or let's say I want to modify my current exclusion. So with the patch method, I can modify something already exists. Again, my query completed, and I can go back here and zoom in, refresh maybe. Yeah, I can see demo.exe. So perfectly, it works very well. And last but not least, the delete. That's the keyword we didn't view for the moment. So the delete is one of the keywords you can use by calling an API call. It doesn't require a body. And in that case, we will be able to delete our exclusion. So let's do it to clean my current tenant. As you can see, I just have to pass the exclusion ID. No information except the success validation. I have 204, which means the deletion was successful. Perfect. So if I refresh my page, my console, again, the exclusion has gone. Okay, that's how all the different keywords are working, and that was something I wanted to showcase to you. I think it's the last one. The last one is the action history. So from the console, I can read the audit trail. So any action you are taking within the console is something logged. So the user, Ben, was deleting an exclusion. So this information is saved. Okay. So if you want to access this history, that's something you can also do from an API call, and it's action history. So again, very easy one. It's a get, and you just execute it to get the history. Okay, very easy one, but that's something very interesting. And that's conclude my part. I hope you like it. And now let's go back over to you, Nick.
Thanks, Ben. As a reminder for everyone, Trellix Education Services offers exceptional training to go along with our award-winning products. If you would like to learn more, please visit the website listed on your screen to see all of our offerings. Are you wanting to learn more about upcoming Trellix product features and innovations? Join Trellix technical experts in a weekly 30-minute Tech Talk webinar series. Every week, you'll get a peek under the hood at Trellix technology and see a short demo spotlighting key capabilities from across the industry's most comprehensive portfolio of cybersecurity solutions. Now let's get our Q&A session started. I see we have several questions, but it's not too late to add your question. Please type it in the Q&A window to submit. Additionally, take a moment to fill out the survey. Your feedback and suggestions are always appreciated. Are there any rate limits on API calls with the EDR API?
That's a good question, Nick. Actually, yes. And we have a license where we define the limit. It's actually 2,500 per day. You can follow your current usage. If you go to my subscription from your tenant, you will be able to follow what is your current usage. So how many call your current scripting or current integration is doing per day. And if you see you reach the limit and perhaps it's not enough for your use case, maybe you need more, feel free to contact your sales representative, sales account team, because you can subscribe to one more and get more. Basically, you double the number and etc. So you can, based on your usage, you can adapt what you need. So you pay for what you need exactly. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that one. Do we need to generate a client ID and secret in such a way for Trellix SIEM integration? Is that free?
Trellix CM. So Trellix CM is first of all, yes, you need to You need to go through the process as I took the time to explain and describe at the beginning of the webinar. This is very key. Anytime you need to use the API, you need first to the creation of your client ID and client secret. This is absolutely needed. It's used in conjunction with the API key, but you need to authenticate. And the way to authenticate yourself is by using the client ID and client secret. No, it's not free. You have to have access to the API SKU. SKU, what I mean by this is the reference you have to buy, the license you have to buy to Trellix. So again, if you don't know if you have access yet to this license because you are already own some product, the best way is to contact your Trellix account team. They will be able to inform you about what is your current limit or current access. You can also go again to the My Subscription page through your existing tenant. Even if you don't use this tenant for managing your endpoint or managing any resource, this is the way you should verify what is your current usage of the API. So again, go to your tenant, log in, go to My Subscription page, and you will see how much you are using the API tenant, the API SKU.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that one as well. It looks like that's all the questions that we have for today's session. This was our first session on the EDR API. If there's anything specific or any topics that we didn't cover that you'd like to see more on in the future, we'd love to hear that feedback in the surveys. I want to thank everyone for joining today's webinar, and a big thank you to our speaker, Ben. As a reminder, a link to today's recorded presentation will be emailed to all registered attendees. This concludes today's webinar. Stay safe, everyone.